So ticker symbol COSM faced a very bullish day today, pretty much from the beginning of the day, trading at almost 100,000 more shares than normal. So let's go ahead and see what the potentials are, as I do have some statistics to share with you now. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Once again, this is ARCa coming at you with a ticker symbol COSM, technicals, raw price action, and statistical threat of analysis on this happy Monday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, team, so of course we're going to go ahead and start this off with the micro E-mini Russell 2000 futures contracts, right? So we want to take a look at this because we are finally getting some reaction to the bullish price action that's happening in the index futures, right? So one thing that I would have to mention here is that this would essentially get pressure to the upside even further, because the Russell 2000 futures contracts are about to get a golden cross here, where the SMA 50 crosses above the SMA 200 on a daily time frame. This is incredibly bullish for the asset here, and as you can see historically, right, anytime that that SMA 50 crosses above the SMA 200, absolute upside can happen, right? So this is looking very good for the asset, and I think that there could be a very nice opportunity for COSM to kind of follow that index future as well. So the index future price action, right, the CME. So I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Let's go ahead and touch down on something very interesting here, right? So this was the what you're looking at here is actually the fractal that we took a look at, right, just a few videos ago. And we noticed that on average there is a duration of about 17 bars before making an upside, or a 14-day period, right? We're just a little over that now, and it seems that we've actually gone over it by a couple days, and actually started this upside a little later than normal, right? But it is essentially following the trajectory that this formation had, right? They're very familiar formations as well. So this is a right-angled broadening descending wedge, and so is this one here, right? So accumulation right into the same support area that we were talking about, right? So in the only difference is that we actually touched down into a very critical support here at 290, right? Slightly below the zones that we've been looking at thus far, but still 290. I mean, in retrospect here, it still looks like we've had plenty of touches even back here, right, into that target there. So 291 was that touch. So I mean, it's not so random or so rare that we do hit it. It's just a deeper demand zone for the asset. So now, regarding volatility versus momentum, this is what we're going to be talking about now, right? Oh, actually, one more thing. Please notice here that on the 4-hour time frame, upon the after hours market, we actually have, we're sitting at $3.20, right? So very, very bullish after hours as well. And we're in the process of converting that SMA 50 into a support, which is absolutely bullish. Okay, so upon breaking out of this top trend line here, you can actually see that. Let me just go ahead and get rid of this, move it to the side, right? You can actually see that we've actually made a pretty nice cross upside of the SMA 200, but retraced to test it, right? So that could be something that's happening within this fractal too. Okay, of course we don't want to take this into just the consideration, but the reason why I'm mentioning it like this is, and you guys, if for those of you who know me, know that I don't follow fractal theory, but I'm mentioning it this time because there is something to back it, and those are statistics, by the way. So we're gonna talk about that now. But first of all, please notice that we absolutely have a setup happening here on the 4-hour time frame of volatility versus momentum. We have an upside pivot on the EMA 3 and the SMA 14, currently sitting in the bullish control zone of the stochastic momentum indicator, right? Also notice that we have a very aggressive increase in volatility as well. So this is absolutely the minimum time frame that I would require in order for the 6-hour, the 8-hour, the 12-hour, and the daily to start reacting to, right? So let's move up to the 6-hour and see what we got. Yeah, see this? Increasing volatility, upside pivot on the 6-hour, 8-hour time frame, upside pivot on the momentum. We have increasing volatility as well. Man, and all of them are actually showing upsides here, like in the MACD and also on the RSI, right? So 12-hour time frame as well is barely reacting right now towards that upside, right? And we're still at critical volatility down here. So it's looking very, very juicy, and I do see a continuation to the upside. And in this case, let's move on to the next chart, which is going to be that part where it gets very juicy. So I have two different data sets here, and you can actually see that this is the updated data set per today, right? So I actually had to recalculate the iterations. I'll give you the criteria but I just want to let you know that I had to recalculate every condition here because the last time we had done it was on March 22nd, 2023, right? So the results have changed pretty drastically here. So we had a total count of 9 iterations. Now we're at about 16 iterations. And what is that context exactly? Okay, so anytime that volatility has contracted into the critical zone here within the 15 percentile and started an expansion phase beyond the 15 percentile with an upside pivot, that paired with stochastic momentum with an upside pivot as well has led to several moves to the upside. In particular, 12 out of the 16 have been guessed correctly to the upside using volatility versus momentum. So that now, versing the old statistics here, we now have a 75% accuracy. And our upside targets are starting to look a little more realistic than they did before with only 9 iterations. Right, so the more the iterations, the better, right? I mean, statistically speaking, right, to really create a habit here, we would need around 140 or 150 iterations, but still, we work with what we have, right? So on average, 12 out of the 16 have created upside accuracy of about 75%, with an average upside thrust of 115%, 115.23%. Over the span of around, actually this updated to around 7 days. Okay, so I'm sorry that I actually didn't write this down, but we'll go ahead and get that corrected, right? So, and this is the total count versus the prior total count, right? So now I also did take it a step further, 2 steps further. I also included the standard deviation based off of the mean. Right, so now we have a standard deviation of 298.45%, which essentially means that 68% of the results will land within the 298.45%, right? So in this case, since we are talking about the upside here, then you can actually perceive this in this manner. Okay, so let's just go ahead and I know this is going to be a little it's going to be a little messy here, but we'll try to draw it as clean as possible, right? So if this is the price action here, by the way. Let me just add the indicators back. The signal hasn't officially fired just yet, okay? We need both of the volatility and the moving average to be beyond the 15 percentile. I mean, very minimum, we need it beyond the 10%, okay? But it would be ideal for us to have, since I backtested it, from above the 15 percentile, we need both the volatility component and the moving average beyond the 15 percentile with an upside pivot, paired with stochastic momentum with an upside pivot too. Okay, so we're very, very, very close to reaching that, which could be, we could already start to speculate on the targets based on the current position. It's fine, right? So let's go ahead and take that metric into consideration. So let's just say that this is the bell curve, right? If you're familiar with statistics, then you'll know what I'm talking about, right? So this is this is essentially the upper half of the bell curve, right? And this would be the bottom half of the bell curve. Right, so this is your bell curve. That's you would have to flip it the other way, right? But this is how you're able to tell, right? So now we're going to mark off the separation between the upper bound and the lower bound, right? So just something like this here. It's not going to be perfect, of course. I'm not using any type of measuring tool here. I'm just kind of showing you this just so that you have a pretty clear example over what can be happening here. Okay, so this area here within the inner bound here, this is 68% of the results, right? Meaning that 298% to the downside, right, or to the upside. But the stochastic momentum versus volatility is in fact favoring the upside. So of course we of course favor the upside. So we would measure 298.45% to the upside, and that would be the space of the 68% of the results, right? So we would essentially start to determine what are the higher probability targets to reach. I'm not saying that we're going to go to 298%. I'm saying that based on the statistics, 68% of the results land within the 298% upside. The mean here is 115.23%. So let's just go ahead and start taking that into account, by the way. Okay, so 320. Let's just say that we moved 115% to the upside from this point. Remember that the bell curve should be actually way bigger than what it is here, right? Because of the bounds of the standard deviation, and obviously the first standard deviation upper bound is huge. Right, so let's go ahead and imply here 115% to the upside based on the mean itself, right? On average, anytime that condition meets, we tend to get this move to the upside, right? So 115 what? Spot 23, spot 25 is okay. So this is suggesting that we would, on average, make a move to about $6.89, right? So $6.89, let's just see where that is. It's actually the top side of this range here. That's the resistance level. It's pretty dead on. Nice. Okay, so now if we were to respect, of course, the standard deviation itself, the standard deviation, of course, these targets, you guys, I'm not saying that we're going there. Like, we really have to take this with a grain of salt. The thing is that we're able to identify the targets in between these, the 298.45, right? So let's go ahead and just mark it off, right? So 298, here we go. Almost there. I think that's about as close as I'm going to get. 298.82, okay? So that's suggesting a target of 1273. But that just means that we now have from 320 to 1273 to evaluate the higher probability targets from where we can reach within an 8-hour period. And it's also giving us about a 7-day turnaround, right? So now, judging by, this is just a standard deviation, 68% of the results, right? So now, the upper bound of the first standard deviation, which would be this area here, is suggesting that we have 413.68% to the upside, right? So now we go ahead and take the same measurement all the way to 413%, right? So let's go ahead and just put that 413.68. Let's see how close we can get. All right, 412 is going to have to do. $16.44. Okay, so that means that the upper bound of the first standard deviation has a higher has a lesser probability, but still it's within the math that we can perceive targets from the 320 area all the way to 1644. Okay, now 1644 is actually landing very close to the top side target that we faced around that $23 high from the Black Swan event that we faced upon this upon the reverse split, right? So again, please remember that this is why I'm actually explaining it so in depth here, is that I'm not saying that we're going up 298 or 115 or 412. I'm saying that those are the targets to evaluate any higher probability zones, right? So we have this entire area based on the condition that's currently set, and it's about to fire, right? It's going to fire as soon as we pass the 15% of volatility. Okay, so another thing that actually gives us validity here for the play is the DMI indicator. So DMI plus representing the bulls, right? The green line, it tells us if we're leading or if we're losing, right? So you can see very clear areas here to where the bears have been on top of the bulls, and those are the bears leading, right? So in this case, you can actually see an upside pivot in the bears. So DMI plus is doing very nice, and DMI minus is declining. What I would like to point out is that on an 8-hour time frame, the ADX, represented by the dotted line here, is sitting at 30%, just about 31%. When the ADX sits at 30% and facing upwards, that usually means that there is a strong trending market to whoever is leading the pack. In this case, DMI plus, aka bulls. So now, this is the final setup this is the final validator that I would need for the statistical move to prove, or to prove correctly. So in other words, we have volatility versus momentum with DMI backing. So this is great. This is absolutely great. Okay, so now what we need to do is just meet the absolute last criteria here. We just need the volatility component represented by that spectrum line and the moving average beyond the 15 percentile for a continuation to the upside. I'm sorry this video is going a little bit long, but it's important for us to evaluate these metrics. Okay, you guys. So yeah. Now we have lots of targets to kind of evaluate for the immediate short-term time frame. Of course, we have a few things to look at, right? There's going to be a natural ebb and flow. It will not be just a huge pump to the upside, right? So we have the SMA 200 and the SMA 50 located on the 8 hour. Very likely we can reach around 330 to about around 326 or 327 tomorrow. Okay, so what's very curious about that is actually, I think the reversion variant, my algo is giving us something similar, I think on the daily time frame. So let me see. I think it could have been on the 3-day. Let's just see if we have it in here, right? So hold on just a moment. Let's go ahead. Okay, this is the daily time frame. Let's see if we have the reversion variant in here, or else we'll just go ahead and check it, because I just noticed it somewhere and I was like, well, there it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, daily time frame is also setting up that very same similar setup, except that this one's a bit earlier. The 8-hour time frame will pressure the 12-hour to do this and the daily to do this, okay? So please notice here that the reversion variant is suggesting a touch of $3.24 since we're mean reverting, right? So that's it's very curious, because that's exactly what the SMA 50 and the SMA 100 are kind of saying within the 8-hour period, 326 to around 330. Right, so that's absolutely in line to what we're doing here. So I like that there's a lot of rhyming happening within the asset. Okay, so now for the last part of the analysis, I'm sorry, if we do go beyond the 324, then there's a target to look at about 367. Okay, so 367 would mark off a pretty healthy area for momentum to be shifted to the upside on several time frames, thus indicating a continuation to the upside. So now regarding the mean reversion, let's see. So that's suggesting about 365, right? So let's see the bi-daily or even the 3-day, because we just got a couple closures right now that were absolutely important for us. And let's see, 365. That's a little too far up. 346 mean reversion on the 5-day. We have 365. Okay, so it's actually matching the 3-day top side of the resistance. So 365 here too. So 3-day and daily are actually suggesting that very similar thing. Notice that the 3-day is already suggesting an expansion here. And we're starting to get that curvature, so that means that there could be a floor found, and this is just waiting for the shorter time frames to give it this influence for the upside. Like I said, 8-hour to the 12, 12-hour to the daily, daily to the 2, and 3-day. All right, so that's what it's looking like. Please notice here that there's an absolute healthy looking set of RSI indicators here. 30-minute immediate short-term time frame bouncing from that SMA 14 with an upside pivot in the bullish control zone. Bi-hourly time frame upside pivot on that SMA 14. The RSI signal now sitting in the bullish control zone as well. 4-hour time frame upside pivot on the SMA 14, and notice how we're in the gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile. This is very likely to get pulled into that upside, and because this time frame, the 4-hour time frame, will get pulled into the upside here, it'll likely influence the 8-hour time frame to also get into that gravitational zone too. Okay, so here is some bullish things to look at. 12-hour time frame succeeding the upside of the SMA 14 with an upside pivot. Same situation here with a daily time frame. And the daily time frame is approaching the gravitational zone of the bear weakness. So this is good. Okay, 3-day time frame is about to make its cross upside of the SMA 14. Very bullish. And of course, the 5-day is just waiting for the shorter time frames to kind of lead the way here. All right, team. So I think this is a pretty good place for me to leave off. Please remember, first and foremost, that I am not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool. But with that said, team, I wish you well, a very, very happy 4th tomorrow, and I will catch you at the bell on Wednesday. Adios.